Hello, human family. How are you? You guys, today I've been pondering this thing that we call happiness. Our culture is currently obsessed with happiness. You cannot turn on the television, a podcast, read an article, hear a conversation where the word happiness doesn't come up. Happiness is the cause of most divorces, most problems in our society, this pursuit of happiness. Yet you would be hard pressed to find happiness. What is the cause of unhappiness? You would hear things like poverty, war, racism, loneliness, stress, work, etc. And if those are the things that come to your mind, you would be completely wrong in your assessments, in your beliefs about happiness. You see, most of us have been conditioned to believe happiness is external. This way of thinking, I believe, has germinated from narcissistic philosophies, narcissistic belief systems for living. You see, if you are empty and dark on the inside, the only way that you can possibly believe that you can achieve happiness is on the outside, is externally. You are looking for external things to bring you happiness. Because what's inside you is so monstrous, so hideous, dark, and ugly that you yourself, as a narcissist, can't live with it. So being constantly busy, constantly searching for things to do to avoid that dark void inside you is what brings happiness to you. You believe that that's happiness. But I'm here to tell you that that is not happiness. That is thrills and excitement. That is avoidance. You see, we live in a society that is in constant pursuit, of something that doesn't exist. We live in a culture that is chasing happiness on a road to nowhere. Happiness is internal. Happiness is inner peace. That's all that it is. But we have been conditioned by our society to believe happiness is something outside of us. Many people believe that happiness is whiteness in today's culture. For instance, this thing called white privilege. I ask you, are all white people happy? No. But you have cultures, millions of people, billions of people thinking that happiness is being white. It isn't. White people have some of the highest suicide rates in the world. Alcoholism, obesity, etc. They are no different than the rest of the human family. We often think if we're married, we'll be happy. If we have children, we'll be happy. If we have grandchildren, if we have a boyfriend or girlfriend, are all people in relationships happy? Are all people with kids happy? Are all people who are single happy? Are all people without kids happy? You see, there is no prerequisite for happiness externally because it doesn't exist. Everything outside of us could be put into a category of thrills and excitement. We live in a society that is based on escapism through movies, through activities. We don't want to sit still and get to know who we are. You see, living in a world with narcissistic people in it, which make up, the experts say, 10 to 15%, some say 20. I'll go ahead and concur with that, but 20% of the population can certainly have an impact on the way of life in the unculture. If you don't believe that, I want you to think of the impact that African Americans have on the culture globally in terms of music, fashion, etc. And we're only 13% of the population in America, but have a profound impact on the culture. I'm using that example to illustrate that a population of 20% of the people can have an enormous impact on the overall culture and society that we live in. Narcissistic people have been here for millenniums. They have been here since the beginning of time. So to assume that they're not having an impact on our society would be a bit naive. So what kind of impact have they had on our society when it comes to happiness? See, since the reality that narcissism exists and that there are people who are very different than the average human being, I personally believe that there's some kind of demon or alien inside them that they even struggle with. And people who have been in close relationships with these people would concur. If you don't concur with that, you just haven't been around it enough and it's never exposed itself to you. I haven't been drinking in 30 years. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I am a sober, sane human being. I've been surrounded by these people my entire life. I'm an independent researcher of the nature of these people. And I am telling you, they have dual personalities in them. None of them, except the evil one, is permanent. The rest is made up and pretend. But I don't want to digress. My point here is that that these people have had an impact on the way that we perceive our reality. You see, if you don't have light within you, and you aren't connected to what I believe is the source and energy of life, the light of it, the positive, the beauty, the good, if that's not internally floating within you, then you seek things to mollify that on the external world. That's the society of escapism that we live in today. We are constantly seeking thrills and excitement under the belief that that's happiness. And it is not. Thrills and excitement are thrills and excitement. There's nothing wrong with thrills and excitement. Just like there's nothing wrong with cake and ice cream here and there. But it should not be the way of life. Happiness for a fully developed, normal human being is inner peace. Inner peace cannot be achieved inside of a narcissist. It is impossible. Therefore, there has to be external stimuli, constantly seeking to be re-energized, resuscitated by their environment in the people that are in it. Thus, seeking narcissistic supply through hurting, agitating, stressing, confusing, fucking with people. Come on, man. I see you guys. I know your MO. My point here is that if you are not one of these people, inner peace and happiness is at your fingertip as long as you are brave enough and have the courage enough to question everything about your existence. Question what mommy and daddy said, what the preacher said, what the psychologist said, what the counselor said, what the show host said. Question everything in your life and see if it really brings happiness. Because most of the things that we've been conditioned and programmed to believe that brings happiness is erroneous. It's a road to nowhere. It brings more unhappiness. You see, unhappiness, if you are a normal person, if you're a narcissist, you can't be happy. You know that, and I know that. Come on, man. Come on, man. You know you can't be. You can pretend to be happy. You can get engulfed in thrills and excitement and escapism, but you can't find inner peace, which is utter happiness. Everything else becomes an attachment and a drug, something that you need. Anything that you are attached to is the beginning of unhappiness. What is an attachment? Anything that you believe you need to be happy. A friend, a car, a job, a title, anything externally of yourself that you believe you could not be happy without. And here's how destructive and how quick these attachments can erase happiness. Let's say you have 100 attachments that you feel you need to be happy, and you fulfill 99% of them. That one attachment that you did not get, that you did not obtain, will void the 99. It will prevent you from enjoying the 99 other attachments that you were able to achieve or obtain. Attachments are disillusionments, and they are part of the narcissistic part of human existence. What does this mean? It means that you should not be attached to outcome. Doesn't mean that you don't want to win or compete. Believe me, I'm not talking about everybody's happy and gets a trophy. Fuck that. That is not my MO. I'm not talking about pacifying everybody, making everybody feel good. No. If you're in this game of life, you have to be ready to attack. You got to go for it. That's not what I'm saying. You want to win. You want to achieve. You want to enjoy life. You're just not attached to the outcome. You're just not attached to the opinion of other people. You're just not attached to the rules and the conditioning of the society that we live in, because a lot of that stuff is wrong. And narcissists like to play tricks. They like to gaslight. You can spend your whole life chasing happiness and never get there because it doesn't exist. It is something that narcissistic people do to mollify the ugliness and the darkness inside them. You don't have that. So all that you have to do is examine your attachments, choose what makes sense to you in terms of how you want to live your life, and set your boundaries and not give a fuck about the good opinion of others. You don't need the approval of others. You don't need to win, but you need to try to win. Yes, you need to attack life. You got to stand up again. You got to get back in the game. You got to realize your power in your light and use it to create inner peace. Not to destroy, but to defend. Not to hurt, but to heal. And you've got to get that fight back in you. And you get that back in you by not being attached to all of the bullshit that you've been conditioned to believe. You are not unhappy. Your programming is unhappy. You were promised a certain world and a certain feeling for doing certain things, and they did not come to fruition because they are not real. They can never bring you happiness. They can only give you a respite from misery, from darkness. It's only escapism. Like I said, thrills and excitement are wonderful. I love a lot of thrills and excitement. I just don't need them to be happy. Happiness is inner. It is the birthright of who you are. It is internal. It is the kingdom within. There are millions of people on this planet who don't get the opportunity to experience that. And guess what? They don't want you to ever experience that too. So you are responsible for you. Everything in this world is supposed to be here. Who are you to say what isn't supposed to be here? Just like a crocodile, an evil, dark, ugly, nasty narcissist is supposed to be here. Just like a tiger, a poisonous snake, a this, that, and the other. They're here. But they cannot impede your happiness unless you fall into their trap of what happiness is, wanting you to be attached to them. That's why they try to make you weak. Because if you need them, you'll be attached to them, then they can control you. And then when it comes to the great discard and they decide to drop you, then they can crush you and go, look at how wonderful I am. See, if you want to see how sick these people are, imagine you're walking through the produce section in the grocery store and someone comes up in a football uniform and tackles you and then dances around you like they made the greatest play ever. You don't even know you're in the game, and they think they're a winner. You would call that a loser. It's covert. It's not special. It's dirty. It's ugly. And it's low life. What you have to do is to protect yourself so you don't become that. And one of the first steps in understanding that is that happiness externally is an illusion. And it is an illusion that for the last 200 years, human beings have been chasing and getting let down from time and time again. If you are a normal, full functioning human being, once you do the inner work and you go in and attack the things that are harming you on the inside, things that have broken you from childhood, the damage that's been done to you, you will come out and be unbreakable. And you will be happy just the way that you are. Life for any of us could end tomorrow. Happiness is now. It is a birthright, just like breathing air. It is who you are. The only people that are really unhappy and cannot do a damn thing about it are narcissists. That's their shit. Don't get caught up in it. Their karma is their existence. No matter how handsome they are, no matter how rich they are. I know millionaire narcissists that are strikingly handsome and beautiful who are fucking pitiful, vulgar, and miserable. They're a joke. So on that note, fam, the takeaway is, you guys, question everything in your life and why you are adhering to it. And how has it benefited you? You only have one life to live, and life goes quick. The older I get, the more I know that these things matter, that you live an authentic, true life. And you cannot be fully alive without facing the demons, the hurts, the pains, the neurotic things that have been thrust upon you by your parents, by your society, by your lovers, by these dark people that were around, these evil monsters. We have been wounded, we have been hurt, and you can't alpha it or chase it away, gentlemen. You got to go in and do the work. And the good news is when you attack it, you beat it. But you can't pretend that it isn't there. And then you blossom into a fully alive human being that, like Bruce Lee said, you're like water. Whatever happens, happens, and you flow and you transcend it. Life carries all things away. Those who want to be happy must constantly change and evolve. And that is inner work. It's accepting that you have been damaged and healing it and moving on. And you've got to attack it like you attack anything. The real enemy that we should be attacking is the enemy within ourselves. That is the one that does the most damage. You got to go back into that childhood. You got to go back to that little Darin, that little whomever, and make sure that they're all right and heal them and let them know you got their back and they're safe. Because most of us have grown up in a world where we never felt safe. And that prevents us from attaching to the inner core of who we are. You will hear me say this over and over on this channel. We empaths, we normal human beings, are just as damaged as a narcissist. We're just damaged differently, and we're just not evil. But we have just as many deficits in us that need to be worked out. And that's okay. The good news is that you can be happy. And it's a 100% reality. And no matter how they put on a front, they know they can't be happy. So on that note, remember, it's always better to be fooled by a narcissist, even abused by a narcissist, than to be a narcissist. It's time to get fully alive again, you guys. So let's go. Until next time, this is Green's Candor, and I'm out.